Welcome back. You're watching Business Morning on Channels Television. Continuing the conversation, analyzing, of course, recent monetary pronouncements from the Monetary Policy Committee, keeping all rates unchanged, but looking at introducing a flexible exchange rate policy. There have been a lot of reactions. Of course, the markets reacted very positively to this piece of news. Conversations earlier on the program with Jumoke of FMDQ OTC Market shows that more investors are likely, foreign investors particularly, are likely to come back into the market as they now see a probability of having a free market which to do transactions. So we're continuing the conversation and looking at why organized private sector came out to support this particular announcement from the Monetary Policy Committee. I'm being joined now on the program by Dr. Vincent Wani, who is the Head Research and Advocacy at the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for coming on the program, Vincent.
Thank you for having me.
So, very recently, when that pronouncement came, almost immediately, the LCCI came out, with their own support of this particular decision. What was the basis for this commendation?
The basis is that at the end of the day, the government, especially the central bank, is now able to see where we're coming from. Since July last year, the LCCI have been leading the campaign that the way to go in the light of the challenges we're facing is for a flexible exchange rate. That is the exchange rate that reflects the reality on the ground. The exchange rate that removes all arbitrage in the market and also give investors the right confidence to operate and give a foreign investor also the confidence to bring in their money. We've been campaigning about this. We've engaged the CBN. We've made all the reports about it since July last year and sustaining that campaign. So when you saw our response almost coming immediately, you can see how happy we are that at the end of the day, even after we've lost a lot of time and opportunity, at least it's better late than never.
But then, how does this now directly affect the manufacturers? Because I know that's another very key group that you have in the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And they were the ones that were particularly unhappy when some certain items were put on the 41 items that were prohibited from accessing Forex from the official window. How have they greeted this news? The same way as the other groups in the LCCI? Happy about it?
Yeah, just to provide a little statistical perspective, as at this time last year, the manufacturing sector in Nigeria, or the industrial sector, have already entered recession, growing at minus 1.6%. As we speak, that sector, looking at the statistics from first quarter 2016, is already growing at minus 5.something%. So you see that the recession is deepening in that sector, and this is in response to some of this adverse foreign exchange policy that the central bank have applied over the last 1 year. Again, the challenge is not just removing the list, some of the raw materials from the list, that is the almighty 41 item, but also the scarcity of foreign exchange, even at the autonomous market, to be able to import some of the raw materials that you cannot access in the official window. And that is why we're excited that right now, at least there is the flexible exchange rate is being announced. We just pray and also appeal using this platform that all the framework to operate the flexible exchange rate is made known to everybody so that we can all key into it. We feel that this will boost the confidence of manufacturing operators, which is at the lowest level as it is today.
But then allowing, that's what it seems like is going to happen now, allowing the Naira to float, because the CBN governor said there will be a dual market, and then we're hearing talks of from various analysts about introducing an alternative foreign exchange market where, manufacturers, oil sector producers, and the rest of it can actually go and access funds. But don't you think it might actually worsen where we have the exchange rate at the moment?
Of course, that is why we say that we need to see the framework for the announcement. It's just an announcement. Of course, the market is already reacting to the news. But we want to see concrete framework so that we can depend on it and key into it. You have a two-window, the floating or flexible exchange rate on one side, and you also have the critical window. They call it special
critical
window.
Transactions.
Exactly, for critical transactions. What are those transactions that qualify as critical? Is it not going to open opportunity for another arbitrage or for abuses that we have seen over the last few months? So these are concerns that we have raised in our response, and we want the Central Bank of Nigeria and also key policymakers to look at this concern and address us, give us confidence to be able to follow this new announcement. But on the whole, at least we are happy that they are seeing reasons in our points.
But then you see some investors have pending transactions like remittances for which payments have long remained to banks, but there's no foreign exchange to back this up. Will it not be a major problem now for this category of people?
I think where we are now is better than where we were. The reason being that as of 2 months ago, the statistics we got is like that about 5-point-something billion US dollar worth of investment, worth of transaction have been made, but we are not able to pay our own side because of scarcity of foreign exchange. What this does is that there are a lot of money, foreign, I can call it export proceed. We've made export, but this money is not coming into the country, because if it's going to come into the country, it's going to come through the official window at 199, which is heavily discounted. So some of this money, I don't have the figure now, but it's huge, have been stashed abroad for no reasons. But with this floating flexible exchange rate, of course, naturally, the money will have to find its way.
How do you know the money is stashed abroad?
Well, it's kept. You just look at it. You have exported. This is an export proceed, maybe $1 million US dollars. But if you bring in that money at that point, CBN is going to exchange it for 199. But you know that the actual value is over 300. So you are bringing the money at a discounted rate. Investors are wise, so they can't bring in that money at that time. That is the starching. Starching is not fraud. It is just a wise investment decision. But now with the floating exchange rate, we can see, we believe that most of this money will find their way back into the country, because you get a little bit more. And in doing so, the flow and availability of foreign exchange will be a little bit more. But these are all on the medium to short term. We need to do something to this economy so that over the long term, these are continuous foreign exchange scarcity and crisis, will be able to solve it.
So you seem confident that the economy will kind of begin to find a way to reflate itself in the short term. But I know I've asked this question before, but let me get your thoughts on this. How do you think all of this will impact the ordinary Nigerian? Organized private sector has a lot of work to do, and they employ majority of the people we find, whether youths from different demography. So what do you think this will mean for the ordinary Nigerian?
As we speak now, the aggregate unemployment or underemployment rate is about 30%, 29.7%. The youth unemployment alone is 42%, according to the statistics from Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. These are scary numbers. And the reason we have had this is because over the last few months or over the last 1 year, we've seen companies shutting down, downsizing. Companies that are supposed to be employing are not employing. The ones employed are, they have to reduce salary, and that's the underemployment as we speak. So the natural thing this will do is at least there will be a sort of stability in the operating environment, waiting for the framework we're looking for to come out so that investment can resume again. We've also seen prices, that is inflation, going up. The tomato, the last speaker was talking about tomato price and tomato scarcity. We've seen prices of petroleum products, prices increasing for electricity. So general rise in price level from as low as 6% some years ago to about 13.7% as we speak now. Now, how this affect the common man on the street is that with exchange rate moderation or the crisis, the rate at which this price is rising will likely moderate. I'm not saying that inflation is going to fall, but the rate of growth, because over the last, since January to date, we've seen inflation grow from 9.6% to 13.something%. So we are expecting a reducing rate of inflation over the next few months with this announcement, and if the framework is out and it is credible enough for investors and stakeholders to key into it.
Okay, so while investors and stakeholders wait for all of the for this policy that the CBN talked about to crystallize, what is organized private sector doing?
Well, what we're doing is what we're doing. One is to continue to assist government in channeling their decision, trying to give them information on the realities, about the realities on the ground. That is in form of advocacy. We're also ever ready to make investment, to attract foreign direct investment. We've seen a lure in the foreign direct investment moving into the country because, again, when investors if investors was to come like January, February, you're looking at it that you're going to bring in your money at a discounted rate. This is frustrating. So a lot of private sector operators that have partners abroad, new partners or ongoing partners abroad were sitting at the fence. But now what is going to happen, what will happen is that we keep on with new discussion with our partners, giving them confidence that now I think the environment is a little bit better for us to come in and resume our investment, especially in infrastructure, because we want to work with government on PPP to open up the infrastructure space, because that is the only way we can permanently solve the issue of foreign exchange. We want infrastructure to power the economy, and government getting the institutional environment, legal environment, and policy environment right as well.
Okay, you also mentioned that, because of the challenges with regards to forex infrastructure, that there's been a lot of laying off of jobs. So with that, how soon will we see organized private sector, all these businesses begin to employ again to reduce that unemployment figure that has got everybody having more than a few palpitations?
The comfort now is that at least companies that were planning to retrench their staff 2 months' time or a week time will likely stop or delay that action. That is already a gain. I'm not going to be able to answer the question, when are they going to start employing, or when is employment rate going to go high, but the unemployment rate that's supposed to increase over the next 2 months, 3 months, or even over the next quarter will likely moderate. That is a gain. And like I said before, if the Central Bank of Nigeria is able to quickly address some of the concerns we raised about the new policy of flexible exchange rate, how to address the critical window, when is it going to come up, and all of those things. Of course, companies want to employ because they want to earn more, they want to serve their customers and clients more. And in doing so, you need to hire more labor, but you want to be able to also pay that labor.
So this is like the last full week in the month of May. In another couple of days, we're celebrating 1 year of democracy, and then before you know it, the month has ended. Give us your outlook for the rest of the year, because by June, effectively, the first half of the year has ended, or we're entering the first half of the end of the year.
No, I don't know whether the outlook you want is the
short to medium.
Okay, in terms of exchange rate, which we are discussing now, at least we believe that with this announcement, and if the government make the right pronouncement about the policy, exchange rate will moderate. The scarcity, the scarcity will reduce, and the rate will moderate a little bit to as low as 200 plus, as against the 300 plus we are seeing now. And remember that we're almost entering into recession if the growth rate we saw in the first quarter repeats itself in the second quarter. Okay. So we believe that with the right policy, we will likely not go into recession by the end of June, by God's grace.
Dr. Vincent Wani, thank you for coming on the program this morning. Our Business Morning continues in just a moment. We'll be right back.